Hello, hi, a very happy good evening. So this is Krishna and here we're going to talk about the story of life on earth, and that's biology. So welcome to my new beginning session. So I hope all of you had an extended and a happy Diwali weekend. So I hope you had your new dreams, new hopes cherished. And yeah, there was a sudden news as well about the result of the NEET exam. So I hope and believe that all of you have scored well and you got your expected score. And for all those who are disappointed with your NEET score and thus your Diwali didn't go as expected, so I have only one message for you. So it's okay. So everything need not be perfect. It's okay. So the moment you don't meet your expectations, that is when you learn. So please be completely fine. So if you have not got your expected score, that's completely fine. So God has some other plan for you, and please take a decision pretty quickly. So whether you want to give NEET exam once again or you want to go ahead with some other course, so please take up the decision pretty quickly so that you don't waste time in whatever you decide upon. So that is my humble request. And all those who have decided to take a drop, so come on quickly. So if you're happy with my way of teaching, so quickly purchase a course in your eCareerPoint app so that we'll be in touch. I can help you more. So once again, thank you so much for joining my session today. So hi Bhavya, yes, a very happy good evening. Yes, I am doing good. How about you? So I hope you had a very great weekend. Yes, ma'am, a very happy good evening. So thank you so much for joining my session today. Okay, so Shiva, hello, very happy good evening. So I guess I remembered your name right. So Hacker, hello. So thank you for joining my session today. So I hope you guys had a very happy Diwali. Yes, you're doing good. So thank you. And I guess now with the results of NEET exam out, so you would have seen the amount of competition that we have. So so I was already telling you that we will have definitely 720 score, and we had 720 out of 720 scoring students as well. So the competition level is pretty high, right? So please make your preparations very perfect, so that very disciplined, in a very disciplined way, so that you don't miss out on anything and you give out your best in your NEET exam. Okay, so Hacker says you have scored 484. So many congratulations. So that is no less. That's very good. So I hope you get into a good college, but I guess compared to the cutoff, it's a bit tough to get into the college that you expected. Yeah, so you will not get into a very good medical college, I doubt. So shall I drop out this year? So if you're very particular that you want to get into a good medical college and you're destined to become a doctor, so I would suggest please take a year drop. And once you have decided to take a year drop, so quickly enroll yourself in a course so that you do not waste any time. Okay, so I guess you would have seen all those 720 people would have actually all the people who scored 720 are actually classroom students. So yes, it needs certain amount of preparation. So just like that, overnight, 6 months, 1 year. So it will not be very good, I would say, because you need to stereotype, you need to change your mind to that mode of preparation. So once you have decided to take a dropout, please join quickly. So 484 is a good score, but from my suggestion, I would say if you prepare much more, a bit more effort, so 50% more effort than you actually did, you would score wonders, Hacker. So yeah, I would suggest you take a drop this year so that you get into a better medical college, and I'm definitely sure you can do it. Yes. So ma'am, after human physiology, which unit you would start? I will go with plant physiology. Okay, Bhavya? Yes. Okay, so coming back to our new beginning series, so we were talking about human physiology. So we were done with the first 5 chapters in human physiology. So we are done with digestion, absorption, breathing, body fluids, excretion and locomotion, and we also played a mentee based on that. And I guess you people didn't join my mentee, so yeah, that disappointed me, but it's still okay. So I'll come up with more such mentees, and I hope you guys join me for those mentees. Okay. So now we are into the next topic of human physiology, that is neural control and coordination. So we have neural control and coordination. Now the next one will be the chemical coordination and integration. So we'll finish these 2 chapters as quick as possible. Then the human physiology unit will be completely done, right? And for your kind information, I've also solved critical thinking questions. So I would request you to go through the videos of the critical thinking questions so that you have an idea how the questions can turn up as well. Okay. Okay, so with this we begin about the structure of the neurons. So I am giving you an introduction to this chapter, that is neural control and coordination. So we are going to talk about the structure of the neuron today. So before we go into the structure of the neuron, so we are going to talk about how the CNS and the PNS are divided and what is the function of each of this, or how is the classification of the PNS, and then finally we'll talk about the structure of the neuron. Okay, yes, so here we move forward, so let's not waste much time. So neural system, so we're going to talk about the neural system here. So if you remember when we started excretion, so we spoke about the excretory structures. We also spoke about how excretory structures are present in different organisms, right? So starting from sponges, starting from annelids. So how are the excretory structures designed? So much in the same way, how about the neural system? So do all invertebrates have neural system? How about Hydra? How about a cockroach? So if you remember, in cockroach they have a set of ganglial system, they have your neural networks, right? So then how it is getting organized? So when you talk about us, that is the Homo sapiens sapiens, we have a well developed complex neural system, right? So how is this development taking place? So that is the introduction that we are going to have. So the neural system of all animals is composed of highly specialized cells, that is neurons. So neurons are the structural unit of the neural system, we would say. So that constitutes your brain. So our brain is made up of neurons, right? Okay. So what is the function of a typical neuron? So if you ask the function of a kidney, the function of kidney is to filter blood. So glomerular filtration, right? So what is the function of a neuron? So the function of the neuron is to detect, receive and transmit impulses. So it will detect the nearby signals, okay? And then it will receive the signals if it's meant to, and then it will pass the signal for further connection. So that is transmit. For example, if I have a signal in my hand, because I put my hand into the hot water, the signal has to pass through the brain, right? So that is transmit. So first it will detect the signal, it will receive the signal, and it will transmit the signal. Ma'am, what is the signal? The message, right? So that is what I mean by impulse, okay? So when I put my hand in hot water, so now my hands burn, right? So immediately I get a message from the brain that I take my hand out, I pull my hands off. So that is what typically a neuron does. So it detects, receives and transmits different kinds of stimuli. So when you talk about a lower invertebrate, that is a hydra, which is, you can say, which comes under your phylum Coelenterata. So this hydra is made up of a network of neurons. So we have neurons only in the brain. So we don't have neurons in the kidney, right? So we have nephrons. But in hydra, it is not like that. It is a network of neurons throughout the body structure. So how about insects? So when you talk about cockroach, does cockroach have a brain? So how about other insects? So we are scared of other reptiles and insects, right? So how about those? So do they have a brain? Yes, so to some extent they do not have a well-developed complex brain like us, but they do have a brain. They have a number of ganglia and neural tissue. So ganglia are supporting cells of the neurons, and they also become a member of the neural system, okay? So vertebrates, so we are vertebrates and we have developed neural system, okay? So in hydra, this is how it is. So in hydra, the entire body is made up of network of neurons. So this is how the neural system is developed in different organs, okay? So moving further, so now talking about the human neural system. So how is the human neural system? Is it well developed or not? So here we talk, so since this is human physiology, so ideally we are supposed to talk about the human. So now we're talking about the human neural system. The human neural system is divided into two parts. One is the CNS, the other one is the PNS. One is the central nervous system, the other one is the peripheral nervous system, okay? So as you know, CNS includes your brain and your spinal cord. So how about the PNS? So PNS includes all nerves of the body that is associated with the CNS, okay? Sona, hi. So what about physics and chemistry lectures? Okay, so yeah, I guess you guys were waiting for it. And as usual, my answer isn't very good, I would say. So yeah, I have again put forward the request. So let's see if we very soon get physics and chemistry lectures. So ideally you should get, but please don't wait for physics and chemistry lectures. So I would suggest, so please enroll in a course quickly in eCareerPoint. So you have courses for just 5,000 for the entire year. So if you open up CareerPoint app, eCareerPoint app, for 5,000 you have the course for the entire year, that is NEET 2022. So please sign up in those courses, so at least you'll have some idea about physics and chemistry. So I would say 5,000 isn't a very big amount, so I would suggest you guys enroll in that course quickly and start studying so that it's easy for you. Right, so there are a lot of back-end glitches to bring about physics and chemistry lectures, so I don't have a very apt answer for you guys. So I would suggest, so please don't wait, so come quickly purchase this Pathfinder course. I guess it is just for 5,000 for the entire year till you need 2022, so they teach the entire portion. So please enroll in that as quickly as possible. So I know physics and chemistry are tough, so please enroll as soon as possible. Okay, yeah. So this is the two parts of the human neural system. So we have the CNS and we have the PNS. So let me give you the classification. Yeah. So we are talking about the human neural system. So human neural system has two parts. One is CNS and the other one is PNS. So we know CNS has two parts. One is the brain and the spinal cord. So PNS includes all the nerves that is associated with the CNS. But apart from that, your PNS also has further classifications. So you would see that in the next coming slides. Okay, so this is your human neural system. So moving forward, so your CNS, so the whole nervous system is derived from the embryonic ectoderm. So we all know three embryonic layers, right? Ectoderm, endoderm and mesoderm. So your entire nervous system has been originated from the ectodermal region. So I want you to remember this. So the entire nervous system is derived from the embryonic ectoderm. So the CNS includes the brain and the spinal cord, which we already know. So formed from the neural tube, it develops from the ectoderm after the gastrula stage of the embryo. So when I say the whole nervous system, so this includes both CNS as well as PNS. Right? So your CNS, actually it is formed from the neural tube and it develops from the ectoderm after the gastrula stage of the embryo. So gastrula stage is after the implantation stage of the embryo. Fine. So it develops from the neural tube in the intrauterine life. So it is a small neural tube that develops during the embryonic stages. So after further stages of development, the anterior part develops into the brain and the posterior part develops into the spinal cord. So it is something like this. So if you can see, so we have the entire neural tube. So the anterior part develops into brain and the posterior part develops into the spinal cord. So here I want you to remember it develops from the embryonic ectoderm, right? So then you have a neural tube during the embryonic stages that is available after the gastrula stage of the embryo, and then the anterior part develops into the head and the posterior part develops into the spinal cord. Fine. So a well-developed adult has it like this, right? Okay, so moving further, so how about the PNS? So the PNS has various categories, so PNS plays a very, very important role, you can say. So now talking about the PNS, so let me explain it on a blank slide so that it's much clearer. So PNS stands for the peripheral nervous system, right? So PNS has two types of nerves. So peripheral nervous system is basically associated with the nerves of the CNS. So it is divided into two main types. So one is afferent nerve fibers. So the next one is the efferent nerve fibers. Fine. So the efferent nerve fibers takes information from the sense organs to the brain. So the efferent nerve fibers carry information from the brain to the sense organs. So this is called as sensory nerves or the sensory neurons, and this is known as the motor neurons since the message originates from the brain. Fine. So this is sensory neurons and this is motor neurons. Fine. Okay, so this is one part of the PNS. The next part of the PNS is again based on the nerves, but based on the nerves that it supplies to. So it is of two types, you can say. One is autonomic nervous system. The other one is your somatic nervous system. So, somatic nervous system supplies nerves to the skeletal system of the body. Fine. So, autonomic nervous system supplies nerves to the involuntary regions of the body. So, this is autonomic and this is somatic. So, your autonomic nervous system is further divided into two. One is sympathetic and the other one is parasympathetic. Fine. So, sympathetic and parasympathetic, they are opposite in action. For example, sympathetic increases heartbeat, whereas parasympathetic decreases heartbeat. So they are always opposite in action. So this term is known as antagonistic in action. Fine. So this is the classification of your PNS. I hope it's clear. So apart from this, we also have one more type of PNS, that is visceral. So visceral is to the smooth muscles or the smooth organs or the hollow organs of the body. So that is visceral. Okay. So these are the different classifications of your PNS. So now we go to the previous slide. So nerve fibers of the PNS. So that is efferent from the organs to the CNS and efferent from the CNS to the organs. So PNS can be further divided into somatic and autonomic. So autonomic is further divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic, right? So we have visceral nervous system. So it consists of the whole complex of the fibers, ganglia, neurons, and it supplies the nerves to the hollow organs or the smooth organs of the body. Fine. Okay, so moving further, so talking more about the PNS, what is efferent fibers? They transmit impulse from the tissues or sense organs to the CNS. So they are known as sensory nerve fibers. So this also I have explained. The further one is efferent fibers. They transmit regulatory impulses from the brain to the sense organ. So this is called as motor nerve fibers. So you should remember the other term. Afferent is sensory and efferent is motor. So this you have to remember because in question this is how they will twist it. Okay. So moving forward, so somatic neural system relays impulses from the CNS to the skeletal system. I told you it supplies nerves to the skeletal system, right? So it consists of efferent nerve fibers because it is carrying the signal from the CNS to the skeletal muscle. Fine. So moving further, autonomic neural system, it transmits impulses from the CNS to the involuntary organs of the body. So now coming to today's topic, that is neuron. So today we are going to talk about the structure of the neuron. So neurons is the structural and functional unit of the neural system, and this is a typical neuron, and I'm damn sure you guys have seen the structure. So ma'am, how do we remember the structure? So let me tell you guys, so if biology and the examples in biology are tough, then becoming doctor is also tough, right? It isn't easy and it cannot happen overnight. So if you cannot remember the number of examples and the number of terms that comes in biology, so imagine how you're going to remember the number of medicines and the terms that you're going to talk in medicine. Yes, I agree, it's tough to remember the examples, so you make clues, you read it repeatedly so that you remember. So 1 to 100 is no longer tough to you, right? So A to Z is no longer tough to you because you kept repeating it again and again. So that is how you get perfect with examples. So I would suggest, so please revise the examples again and again. So with complex terms, so please keep revising them as well. And structure of neuron is equally important, and this chapter is pretty huge compared to the other chapters of human physiology, because we're going to talk about the structure of a neuron and how the message is transmitted from one neuron to the other and how the message moves within a neuron. We're going to talk about the structure of the brain, the eye, the ear, and how they function each individually, right? So this is going to be pretty complex and we're going to talk about each of them. So this chapter you need to pay attention and you need to understand and visualize it, how it is present inside your body, okay? So now moving forward to talking about the structure of the neuron. So Bhavya, are you understanding? Yes? Are you understanding? So do you have any doubts so far? So only when you solve questions you will get doubts. So when I'm teaching you will feel like you understood everything, but in the paper you make mistakes because you have to apply the concept in the question. So exactly the to the point questions will not come because this is national level exam and not school exam, right? So please make sure you solve a lot of questions. So at least 30 questions in each subject each day. So even on a Sunday, please sit down and don't skip any Sunday, though we do not know the NEET exam day. So please solve 30 questions in each subject every day, irrespective of whichever topic it is. So for example, today you are doing nervous system, but you thought you will solve 30 questions in digestion. That's completely fine, but keep solving questions and keep solving questions. Okay? Yes? Fine. So we are going to describe the structure of a neuron. So ma'am, is MTG sufficient for practice? I would say no. So no particular book alone is sufficient for practice. So you should be broad-minded. You should be open to a wide variety of questions. Okay. So don't just stick to one particular material, one particular copy. You should be open to a broad spectrum of questions. So that is what I would suggest. So previous year questions are equally important. So only when you solve previous year questions, you will understand how the questions are coming. So please don't stick to one particular material. So for example, we also have CP publication 33 years question. You can check. So all the questions are the same, but it's compiled by a publication. You can check onto them and you can start solving. So you can refer to other questions, the questions that came here, mock test practice questions. So all that you can refer. So I would suggest don't stick to one particular material. Okay. So that will make you very, very restricted. So what if the answer for that question in that material is wrong, but you can't think outside the box? No, be open to a lot of sources. Okay? Yeah. So this is the structure of the neuron and this is the last topic for today. So we are going to see how the neuron is designed. So the neuron has three main parts. The first part of the neuron is your cyton. So cyton is also known as cell body. Okay? So the second part of the neuron is the dendrites, and the third part of the neuron is the axon. So the neuron has three main parts. The first part is the cyton or the cell body, the second part is the dendrites, and the third part is the axon. So Amarnath, hello, hi. So I guess you are new, or I don't know if you have come previously. I'm not able to remember, but thank you so much for joining my session today. So please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. So I hope you had a very beautiful Diwali. Okay, fine. So we are talking about the structure of the neuron and these three are the main parts. So cyton or the cell body, you can see this is the cell body, right? So when I say cell, a cell should have a nucleus. A cell should have a cytoplasm. So it has a nucleus and it has a cytoplasm, and that is a cyton or a cell body. Okay. So apart from the nucleus and the cytoplasm, it has small granules inside it, and that is known as Nissels granules. So the first part of your neuron is your cyton and your cell body. So just like the name suggests, a cell should have a nucleus and a cytoplasm. Your cyton also has a nucleus and a cytoplasm. Apart from that, it also has small granules, and that is Nissel's granules. Okay, so this is the first part of the neuron. Okay, the next part of the neuron is the dendrites. So you can see small branch structures like this. So these are your dendrites. So dendrites are very close to your cyton or your cell body, and dendrites are branched structures. So dendrites are branched structures. And dendrites also have this granules, that is the Nissel's granules. Okay, so that is about the first part and the second part. So dendrites are close to the cell body and they are branched structures, and they process again granules known as Nissel's granules. Okay, so the last part, ma'am, your lectures are very useful and crystal clear. Wow, so thank you. So I thought you're new to my session, but it seems that you are familiar with my lectures. So thank you. Yeah, so it does not matter if I get 100 watching, but yeah, if I get at least one compliment like this, that drives me. So thank you, Amarnath, thank you so much. Okay, so I'm happy that it is useful to you and it's helping you with your preparation. I'm grateful. Okay, fine, and thank you for your compliment. So now the last part of the structure of your neuron is your axon. So if you can see a long structure like this, so that is your axon. So axon is the unbranched structure of the neuron. So axon is unbranched. Okay, so this entire thing is the axon. The portion from the cell body from where your axon arises. So this is the portion from the cell body from where the axon arises, and this is known as axon hillock. And this is known as axon hillock. Fine. So if you see this entire unbranched structure, it ends here, and this is known as axon terminal. So axon terminal has small branched bag-like structure. So you can say sac-like structure. So these are known as synaptic knob. So starting of the axon is the axon hillock, and it terminates in the axon terminal. Axon terminal has sac-like or rounded structures that is known as synaptic knob. So you can see the knob in a door, so it is similar to that. Okay, but when you see the structure of the axon, there is some coating on the axon, right? So this coating of the axon is known as the myelin sheath. So it is like this. So if this is the axon, so there is some coating on the axon, and this is known as the myelin sheath. So it is a fatty coating to prevent any leakage. So information is getting passed inside the neuron, so no information should leak. So it has a coating, and that is the myelin sheath. So who secretes this myelin sheath? That is the Schwann cells. So you can see Schwann cells. So Schwann cells are like this. So they are the Schwann cells, and they secrete the myelin sheath. Okay, fine. So but you can also see the myelin sheath is not continuous. So I didn't draw like this, but instead I drew like this, which means the myelin sheath is not continuous, right? So there is a gap in between the two myelin sheath. So this gap between two myelin sheath is known as node of Ranvier. Fine. So we have the Schwann cells. We know what is an axon. So I told you what is myelin sheath, and I also told you what is nodes of Ranvier. So Veda, hello. So thank you for joining my session today. So thank you once again. So please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. So please help us with your sharing and subscribing, so that we can reach a lot of people, a lot of students who do not know there's a free platform in which we are teaching. So thank you, Veda, for joining us today. So we are talking about the structure of the neuron. So I guess now the structure of the neuron is clear. So we have three structures once again. So we have a cell body, we have a cyton, then we have a dendrite, and we have an axon. Okay, so cyton or the cell body, it's a typical cell. So it has a nucleus, it has a cytoplasm, plus it has Nissel's granules. Okay, so then you have dendrites. So dendrites are branch structures which are very close to the cell body, and these dendrites also possess the Nissel's granules. Okay. So next one is the axon. So axon is the unbranched portion of your neuron. So the starting point of the axon, which is from the cell body, is known as the axon hillock, and it terminates in the axon terminal, and it possesses synaptic knob-like structure. Okay, so in between it has a sheath which prevents any leakage of information, and that is the myelin sheath. This is a fatty coating, and this is secreted by the Schwann cells, and this sheath is not continuous. The space between the two sheaths is known as the node of Ranvier. Okay, fine. Yeah, so this is the structure of the neuron. So whatever I have been talking so long, so the terms that I have been explaining so long, so that is here. Okay, so we spoke about what is an axon hillock. So I have explained the terms in sentences here, so that's all. So as long you understand from the diagram, so that's fine. Hello sir, a very happy good evening. So it's a pleasure to have you here in our session today. Wishing you a very happy Diwali. So thank you for joining us once again. Yeah. So we were talking about the axon hillock. So axon hillock is the starting portion of the axon from the cyton. So some axon gives rise to side branches, so it has a lot of side branches. So usually axon is not a branch, but sometimes it gives rise to lateral branches, so that is collateral fibers we call it. Okay, ma'am, when is the Menti schedule? Okay, so Veda, so we will wait till we finish neural control and coordination and chemical coordination and integration, and then we might have a Menti. So probably Menti will be there in the next week. Okay, so because I want to finish off these two chapters. Fine. So plasmolemma of the axon is like the axolemma. So when we were talking about the muscle, so we spoke about the cytoplasm, that is sarcoplasm, right? So when we are talking about the axon, so the plasma membrane of the axon is known as axolemma. Right? So when we were talking about the muscle, the plasma membrane was sarcolemma. So in terms of axon, it is axolemma. Fine? So the cytoplasm is known as axoplasm. Fine? So axon ends in structures called a synaptic knob, which I have explained. So synaptic knob comes to life very close to the dendrons of the next neurons to form the synapse. So let me draw a neuron structure here. Okay, so let's draw it here so that it's pretty quick. So this is my synaptic knob. Okay, so very quickly I have the second neuron here, right? So the synaptic knob lies close to the dendrites of the next neuron. So sometimes between two neurons there is a limited space of 200 angstrom, and that is known as your synaptic cleft. So that is known as the synaptic cleft. Okay, so that is what is mentioned. So moving further, so based on the number of axons and dendrites in a neuron, the neuron is divided into three types. One is multipolar, one is bipolar, and the last one is unipolar. So multipolar neuron has one axon or two or more dendrites. So it's multi. So multi is many, but axon is only one because axon is rarely or seldom branched. Okay, so we have two or more dendrites with us, and it is found in the cerebral cortex of your brain. So cerebral cortex is a portion of your forebrain. So that is where you have multipolar neurons. Now bipolar neurons, so bi is 2. So we have one axon, one dendrite. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So that is bipolar. So this is seen in the retina of the eye. The last one is unipolar. So unipolar, uni is 1. So the cell body with only axon and there are no dendrites. So that is seen in the embryonic stage when the CNS is developing. Okay, so this is about the different types of the neuron. So we have bipolar, unipolar and multipolar. So moving further, so what is a nerve fiber? So I spoke to you about sheaths, right? So we have myelinated sheaths and we have non-myelinated sheaths. So myelinated sheaths are also known as medullated sheaths, and non-myelinated are non-medullary nerve fibers. So we have a sheath of fatty substance, so that is the medullary sheath or the myelin sheath, and it is not continuous, and the portion where it is absent, that is the node of Ranvier, right? So, and so the part of the medullated nerve fiber between two adjacent nodes is the internode. So node is this. So this is node of Ranvier. So this is internode. Okay. So medullary sheath is an insulating coat to prevent the leakage of impulses. Fine. So giving you a summary, so we spoke about the human neural system. So we spoke about the CNS, the PNS, the classification of the CNS and the PNS. So CNS was pretty simple, that is brain and spinal cord. So PNS we spoke about afferent and efferent nerve fibers, autonomic and your somatic nervous system. So autonomic was further divided into sympathetic and parasympathetic. Then we spoke about the structure of the neuron. So with this we come to an end of the structure of neuron today and our topic for today. So we are done with describing the structure of a neuron. So I hope you have understood the classification of the human neural system and the neuron. So the topic for tomorrow's class will be conduction of impulse in a neuron. So how the message moves within a neuron. So that is important. So that is a very tough topic as well, a bit tricky, it's not tough. So once you understand, things are clear. So you have terms like polarization, depolarization, repolarization. So please join me to get it clear. So tomorrow at 5:15 we meet again to talk about the conduction of impulse in a neuron. So until then, this is me. I hope I am touching a lot of lives and I'm very excited connecting with you guys. So thank you for joining my lecture. So please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. So until tomorrow, it's me signing off. So take care and have a great evening ahead and bye.